Hey, Strategy Simplified, it's Japheth quickly popping in to let you know that you can work with our MBB team via one-on-one interview coaching. That's right, you can join our Black Belt Case Prep program for 8 hours of structured one-on-one coaching. Also, you'll get resume and cover letter edits and an online prep curriculum. This curriculum includes over 600 practice cases, includes 9 video courses, unlimited math, structure, and brainstorming drills, and a lot more. Learn more and register for Black Belt via the link in this episode's show notes. Strategy Simplified, welcome to another episode. Can you believe that we're already in season 13? It's pretty incredible. Anyways, if you are a PhD, JD, MD, postdoc, PharmD, or other type of non-MBA advanced degree candidate, then today's episode is going to be a special treat for you because it details how you can break into consulting this year through advanced degree bridge programs. When I say bridge programs, I'm talking about a term for these early recruiting programs that consulting firms put on each spring, targeted specifically for advanced degrees. It's a chance for you to get to know the firms and get on the fast track to a full-time role. We'll share all of what this means, including application deadlines that are coming up soon. Check out the link in the show notes for those, and a whole bunch more. You don't want to miss it. Let's get into this episode right now.
Hello, I'm Jenny Ray LaRue, the Managing Director of Management Consulted and a former Bain consultant. I'm really excited today to share with you about the 2024 Bridge programs. This is an overview of how to break into consulting from an outsider perspective. We talk to a lot of people who are not consulting insiders, who don't have the fast track in, who aren't at a target school. And I think there's no better explanation for that group than the folks that are in advanced degree professional programs, postdocs, and more that want to make a massive pivot in their career. So we're really excited today to share with you some of the intel that we've gathered about the bridge programs. We have worked with people to apply successfully to the bridge programs since they began, which was about 7 years ago. So we're really excited to walk with you through the different processes of how firms think about their bridge applicants, how they support you through the process, why we think this is an amazing opportunity. And then for those of you that don't fit, whether you know that starting the call or whether you find that out on the call with some of these bridge programs, other opportunities for ways that you can learn these insights to break in successfully yourself. Here's the key detail for today. Making the leap into consulting as a non-MBA advanced degree is really hard. Like we're definitely not here to say that it's easy. We're only here to say that it's possible. But it's hard for 3 main reasons. The first is that you lack business experience. And while you don't necessarily need business expertise, that was the 1960s and 1970s way of doing consulting, business experience is a pretty important test for whether you're going to like this career. And it's a hard leap to make because you have to prove to somebody before you do it that you like it, you're capable of it, and you're going to stick with it. And so that lack of business experience really creates a gap for a lot of people in messaging and story that's pretty hard to overcome. And that's true for every outsider, I would call it, from consulting. Like if you're not in consulting already, it can be true for you if you come from different places, engineering, law, et cetera. The second is that you have no formal support structure. Right? I went to Columbia Business School to get my MBA. When I was there on my first day, they were like, welcome. Which of the following 5 things would you like to do when you graduate? And the future was made possible by a complete support network from everybody who were my peers to alums to staff at the school to outside speakers that they brought in. Like y'all don't have that, right? The formal support structure for you is how to complete your PhD research. And then after that, how to get a great postdoc. And then after that, if you want to become a full professor and go on the professor track, or if you want to become a teacher, like all the different options for you inside academia, you have a support structure, but not outside. We get it. It's challenging. And to their credit, many career service offices are working really hard to try to support you without having access to that formal support structure. Because what alums do they call that have done this before? There's not that many. So the challenges are there. The third is that you have limited opportunities to break in. Because of these 2 reasons, you are not a normal place for the firms to come and look for talent. If they can hire 25 MBAs and they could hire one of you, and to get those 25 MBAs, they go to one school, and to get the one of you, they have to go to 25 schools. Which one are they going to strategically choose? These are the strategic masters of the world, right? They always choose the easiest, most focused place. But actually, there are some pretty significant opportunities that you have and value that you offer and the insight that you bring that the firms don't have otherwise. That's why they look at you. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. So bridge programs are for you, and specifically bridge programs, but consulting at large. If you are a PhD, JD, or MD candidate planning to apply for full-time consulting roles that start in late 2024 or 2025. What the firms have effectively done is they have created all of you into one equivalent of a Harvard MBA program. Right? They have made it so there is a single access point and a single access process so that all of you can come into a pool. And by the way, people that I went to Columbia Business School with, some of them were great fits for Bain and McKinsey, and some of them weren't. The same thing will be true in the pool that they've created from you. But because there aren't 500 people at your program looking to make this transition, they're gathering 500, 1,000, 1,500 people together who all say that they're interested, and they're running you through a process that they're treating like a target school. Some programs, in addition, practice MDs, accept practicing MDs, professors, current non-MBA masters with a JD, MD, or PhD, non-MBA masters with 3 years of relevant prior business experience, et cetera, after completing a bachelor's degree. So some of them are a little flexy on the way that they think about these applications. And if some of you are here looking for that flexi door, you want to read the fine print super clearly, because here's one thing that's not helpful. When I did undergrad hiring for the University of Virginia, if I got a PhD application, it was not helpful. Why? Because we don't hire PhDs for undergrad roles. And so you have to find the right door at the right time. And we're going to talk today about this one specific door to try to help that become clear. This already might be bringing up some questions for you. And if those are questions that are coming up for you about specific scenarios or general questions, you can already put them in the chat, or you can save them for the chat process in a little bit. Great. So hopefully that tells you who you are if they're looking for you. Let me just say one more thing, actually, Japheth, on the last slide. I kind of said, hey, let's move on, but then JK, let's not. For this piece, the bridge programs are really targeted toward people that come from what they would consider to be high potential, but non-traditional environments. The reason they don't want you if you're mid or late career is that all of a sudden you're actually not a good fit for the position that they're hiring you into, which is an MBA equivalent position. And so there is a place for you to go if you have more than those years of work experience, if you have more than these kind of levels of expertise, if you've been a practicing doctor for 20 years, for example, there is a place that they would like to see you inside the consulting firm, but this program is not one of those. The bridge programs are a great way to learn about life inside of top consulting firms. So what do you get out of it? A whole heck of a lot, actually. They are 1 to 5 day mini internships, usually with some kind of exposure and interaction. It's not just like a 5-day panel exercise, but here's a project, work through it, see what your challenges are. You get to experience what the support network is like, what the personality of the firm is like. In some cases, they're virtual. In some cases, they're in office. So you'll get to see the culture of who's there and how they work. But the firm's work, culture, and people are all exposed through this process of a mini internship. And just to run you through the top 5 programs that we usually support people going into, by the way, there are many more than this, but those are outlined on our website. The top 5 are McKinsey, a 2-day virtual experience where you do a group case study and social activities. The second one is Bain, a 5-day in-person experience where you do a mini internship. You're staffed in an actual current live case. So whereas for McKinsey, it's a simulated case, for Bain, it's an actual experience. And you're staffed on an actual case team. For BCG, you have a 2-day in-person or virtual experience. It's a project team simulation similar to the one at McKinsey, and an intro to life at BCG. So you'll have some of that kind of like the glam and the glitz and the glamour, but you also have some of the work that you'll do at BCG. The fourth one is Clearview. It's 3 days on site in Boston, and it's a simulated engagement. So the focus there is just have you dive right in, see if you'd like it. They also have the opportunity to meet you, observe you, and talk up the opportunities inside the organization. And then finally, but certainly not least, L.E.K's 3-day virtual experience. It's a simulated case with networking opportunities. Great. So these are not practice applications, right? Number one, these are the best pathway to a full-time offer. And number two, they are very competitive applications because they are an expedited pathway to a full-time offer. So think of this as your opportunity to say, look, I studied, bioneuroscience or something very specific, and I got really good at it, and I'm published, and I could have X, Y, and Z potential, but I need the shortcut so I don't go back to Harvard Business School and practice business for 3 years. This is it, y'all. It's an application, an interview, and then a 3-day experience that you have to just be awesome during, which most of you are going to be great at that. And that's it. That's your pathway to a full-time offer. At the end of the process, you will either have an expedited interview or you can receive an offer just automatically for some of the organizations. So here's what you do during the process. And if it's obvious, then that's great. But let me just lay it out really clearly. Number one, you'd have the opportunity to evaluate the firm. A lot of people get into more than one of these programs, and you treat it like a interview process where you go through and you get to know multiple firms, and hopefully you'll have more than one offer coming out of the end. That's a great position to be in. You're looking for places that align with your personal and professional values. Some of you have heard about a certain investment bank that I may have or may not have interviewed with when I was going through the same process with consulting. I actually canceled my final round interview. Thought the work would be interesting, probably would have had a totally different life and career if I'd pursued it. Didn't fit my culture, my values, and the way that I wanted to grow. And so I went a different direction. And you'll have that opportunity, not just in consulting or not, to expose yourself to see if this is the type of place that you want to build the next step of your career, but you'll also have the choice in many situations between firms. The second is that it gives the firm the opportunity to evaluate you. Gosh, wouldn't they love to run a 3-day project with everybody instead of an interview? What an amazing opportunity to see how people handle pressure and teamwork and analysis and insights and just the mental fortitude to work through some of these problems is a real opportunity and challenge. So they'll get to see your performance. They say it's non-evaluative. Of course it is. Right? They may not score you, but they're watching everything and they're paying attention. Here's what it is, though. It is not an opportunity to fail. It's an opportunity to succeed. Most of you, the bias for you, if you go through these programs, will be that they would like for you to be a successful entrant into the firm. They are bringing you in because they're trying to chase you away from other competitors, not because they are trying to find the one person who's a needle in a haystack. So their general tendency is that 80% or more of people will receive either a direct offer or an offer to interview after the program. The third thing is next steps. Next steps are networking opportunities and often guaranteed one-on-one and first round interviews for the full-time roles. So you're not going from here to interview for internships. That's one of the differences between how an HBS hiring process would go in this one. You're going directly to the offer to interview for a full-time role. And at this point, you've been through the gauntlet already with them. You've been supported through this program. You've learned what it takes, and then their likelihood of success of going forward is much higher. So it's an exciting prospect to keep working through this. Here's just a breakdown of what you will need for a successful application, firm by firm. Let me just run through what this chart is. So I have the firms, right? Bain, BCG, Clearview, L.E.K, McKinsey in alphabetical order. Then on the left-hand side, the general core tenets of their applications are a resume, a cover letter, test scores, and offices of interest. Now, Japheth, who is one of the members of our team, put together a lot of the research behind this. And so, Japheth, is there anything that is not mentioned on this slide other than resume, cover letter, test scores, and office of interest before I go into the detail that might just be kind of another thing? We don't want anybody to miss something, obviously, in this process.
Yeah, great question, Jenny Ray. So other than what is listed here on the screen, you'll go through a normal kind of typical kind of consulting application. So, right, just the basic information, right? Your personal details, where you went to school, etc. And so, kind of your typical kind of 5-minute form, in addition to these materials here.
Okay, great. If y'all run up against anything else, then we're super happy to put that. But there are a few things that we just want to call out specifically. So every firm does not require everything. If they don't require a cover letter, it is absolutely fine not to include it. If they do, it better be the best dang cover letter and writing sample that you've ever created. Right? Really important that you shine in the cover letter, because between two PhDs with amazing backgrounds, credentials, experience, etc., the cover letter is actually a pretty big deciding factor. So as you can see, resume is table stakes, cover letter bonus. BCG has a 45-minute video cover letter. And so in our discussion before we got on this call, I was like, oh my Lanta, right? Who are they? Who's going to sit there and watch you for 45 minutes? So 45 minutes seems like a pretty excessive time period. Stay tuned in case they wrote 45 minutes. We've reached out to them to ask and meant 45 seconds. Also, in case they break that down with different guidance. But right now, that's what you have to prep for, a 45-minute recorded video cover letter where you talk about some experiences. It's essentially the recording of a fit interview before you move into the process. And so if they stick with it, y'all need to get ready, and you'll need to look amazing, be prepared, have stories ready. You can't read in a video interview. It has to be super natural and focused. In addition, test scores. So here's one thing that we'll say: almost every firm requests test scores. Some of them have them as optional or as appropriate because not all of you took tests to get into the degree. If you have great test scores in the optional scenarios, you put them. If you don't, you don't. Okay, just really clear guidance on that. And then finally, offices of interest. Here's one thing that a lot of PhD and bridge candidates don't know is that you need to network with people in the offices before you put those offices down. So if you say you want to go to Chicago, you have to talk to somebody in the Chicago office before you go. Best case scenario, you talk to somebody with your same degree who entered in the same way. They went through a bridge program and they're currently at the firm, but they came through as an experienced hire with the same credentials. The good news is that everybody wants to go to different offices. And so while some firms have limited offices, like Clearview has a much smaller office list, you are not going to be competing for mindshare. It's not like everybody's going to write just one person in Chicago. Now that I said Chicago, you probably are going to write the one person in Chicago. But everybody else, if you want to go to Dallas or Detroit or Cleveland or Seattle or San Francisco, right? Like think about where you might want to go and make sure that, especially the office that you place first on your application, you've had a conversation with someone there. In addition, just one final double asterisk there, Clearview requires your GPA to be listed on your resume. Finally, I'm just going to talk through deadlines and then we'll take a quick question break. I see some great ones coming through the chat. There are application deadlines, as I mentioned, coming up. Clearview has 2 application deadlines. For firms that have 2, think of it like an early application and a standard application. If you are interested in the firm, apply early. Okay, so February 19th is when you should submit your Connect to Clearview application, not March 4th. If you're on this call and you know that it happens. If you don't find out about it until February 20th, then you put your application in later. But for everyone else, you need the best possible version of your application out and in their door by February 19th. Bain Advantage is at the end of this month, February 28th. I think it was nice of them not to put it on Leap Day, but that would have been so meaningful, right? Leaping into your new career. February 28th is that one. McKinsey Insight is March 1st. March 1st is a Friday. And so if you want to just finish up your week strong, you'll want to apply to McKinsey Insight. Link to L.E.K. Aren't these firms cute with their little names? Link to L.E.K. March 10th, and then Bridge to BCG, March 20th. So your application, honestly, if you apply to Clearview, is going to be basically done as you move through these other organizations. If you work with us for a resume and a cover letter, you can tell us that you want to go to X number of firms in your cover letter, and we will help you with individual why the firm paragraphs, but you'll have the same cover letter, just some different pieces of that application as well. There are others. Charles River, EY Parthenon, Lumanity, Simon Kucher, Trinity Life Sciences, and we're always adding to that list. So any one of these are going to be your best shot of all time to break into consulting. These are no questions asked, absolutely the best way to apply if you're in the talent pool that they're looking for.
We'll be right back after this quick message. Are you having trouble getting your application reviewed or seen, or worse, your application's getting rejected as soon as you send it in? Are you having trouble conveying your story in a compelling way on your resume? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then we'd love to work with you on a resume and cover letter edit. Our MBB team edits 600 resumes and cover letters a year, and they know what works for consulting firms. We'll perform 2 rounds of really detailed and really personalized line-by-line edits on your resume and your cover letter. Check out the links in this episode's show notes to learn more. All right, let's get back to the show. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Have you ever heard a new digital trend and thought to yourself, okay, does this really matter? Asking the right questions helps you cut through the noise and get down to what matters most. I'm Jim Hertzfeld, host of the What If, So What podcast, where we discover what's possible with digital and figure out how to make it real by asking what if, so what, and most importantly, now what? Subscribe and listen, and together we can turn big ideas into tangible actions so you can get shit done.
The first thing is that you have to consultify your resume to maximize your chances of receiving an interview invite. Every firm will tell you that you can submit your academic resume. I want you to know that that is true, and also it is very, very false. Okay. So what they mean by that is that they will pick through it. They're happy to do the work to translate for them what you've done. What we recommend is that you consultify your resume to control the narrative, right? You translate it in the way that you think they should understand you and make sure that they see what they need to see, which means that you demonstrate that you have transferable skills, research, analysis, and leadership, that you have 1 to 2 leadership roles, not including staff roles or academic roles. So they need to be outside of the classroom, places where you were not paid and were not graded to do something. Ideally, 1 or more commercial experience where you worked with or for an organization for whose job it is to make money, right? Because as you guys move into these consulting firms, that's what they do. They work for groups that want to make money to help them make more money. They do it in a lot of very interesting and passionate ways, but that really commercial experience helps move you out of the mindset of academia and into their world. They also love to know that you succeeded. If you received a full fellowship, they want to know about that. If you received academic awards, were distinguished amongst your classmates or cohort, they always are excited to hear that. They do like to see top scores. It's a good proxy for success. Certainly people with low scores have succeeded. Certainly people with top scores have not succeeded, but top scores are a great correlated opportunity for them. And then they want to see that you have done analytics. Many of the firms are bringing in PhDs with additional insight, MDs with additional clinical experience, but they need you still to be able to do the fundamentals of the role, which includes data analysis, modeling, et cetera. And so regardless of what extras you bring in, you have to have the fundamentals as well. Consultifying your resume is an important part of the translation, and it doesn't say it on here, but I'm going to voice it over. 1-pagers, y'all. The only exception to that is that we will sometimes allow what we consider as an appendix as a second page for any publications or presentations that don't make it onto the first page. First author publications make it onto the first page. Everything else can go into that appendix. So again, they're not going to hire you for those reasons. So we really try to segment it out in a way that consulting firms get excited to see your information. We do not fabricate anything. We don't have to. Y'all have amazing experience. We simply retell it in a way that really is compelling. Now, let's talk about the scariest thing that you'll ever do. Just imagine doing a case interview if you knew about business. It's already terrifying. Your heart pounds. Case interviews with very little to no business experience are even more challenging and difficult. So here's just some specific guidance on the 5 firms that are the core firms that have offered these programs the most. Bain has 2 case interviews, about 40 minutes each. So pretty standard first round process. The good news is that from there, they don't do a second round. But really what they're trying to do is they're trying to eliminate a minimum of 50% of the people who interview. So the threshold is still fairly high to get in from there. For BCG, a 30-minute behavioral interview and an online case. Not the live case, but the 30-minute behavioral interview and the online case are something that will help you test your skills as well. Clearview has simply one behavioral interview. They're like, once we bring you in through the resume, we think that we could potentially, really enjoy having you with us. Sorry. L.E.K is one case interview. And then McKinsey is multiple rounds of interviews. So McKinsey has a much more standard interview process. And here on the right are just a couple of examples of some of the things that we talk about in our case practice plans, our processes that folks work through with our materials, et cetera. The first thing is that starting with market sizing questions, about 2 of those per day are incredibly powerful and helpful. Then reading, watching, and doing along 5 cases will get you out of the process of being an observer in the case process. The third is to do a diagnostic interview, ideally with an expert, somebody who has succeeded in breaking into the firm. They could be there already, or they could still be going. But if they made it through this process before, that's a part of your success factor. We have obviously a lot of coaches on our team that are in that category. So if you want to work with somebody that's outside of your natural network, that's great. But if they are in your natural network, that's the right time and place in the process to do a diagnostic interview. Then we recommend that you do 10 cases twice each. This is a little bit novel for a lot of people. They feel like the maximum number of cases will give them the maximum amount of learning. It's actually completely false. The deepest amount of casing will give you the best amount of learning. And so doing a case and then going back and reviewing it and actually redoing each portion of the case, redoing the structure, redoing the math, redoing the brainstorming will unlock learnings for you that will help to build your business acumen really quickly. And also the next time you move into the subsequent case, after you've done one case twice, you're going to be actually not once or twice better, but about 4 times better, because you'll have made some exponential progress by diving deep into those case processes. Finally, one of the things that we have access to on our platform are drills. So if you need mental math, if you need math formula drills, if you need drills for the market sizing process, if you need drills for structuring, whatever is challenging for you, there are drills that can help. And so those drill-based formats are part of how we prepare people with higher levels of success and faster than anyone else in the industry. Think there's more that we could say about this, but let's go ahead and move on to the final set of questions. So just once again, we would love to have, we'd love to help you. Eden, again, who's on the call, if y'all are not sure whether this is right for you, or if you want some advice choosing between programs, Eden can help you do that. Every single one of our programs stack on each other. So the editing package stacks to black belt. You can use it as an upgrade process where you do the editing package first, and then you can upgrade to black belt. The same with black belt up to super prep. However, some people find that starting where they want to go is just the best thing to do. So they're just like, look, I need strategy sprint. I need help. I want a 1-hour session with me. I do 1-hour sessions, but only with our super preppers. They're the only folks who have access to those. Everybody else gets me in a group, and I love that too. But the 1-hour sessions are for super prep. So anyhow, if you're just trying to decide, if you don't know whether this is right for you, we are super happy to help. But you guys should just jump on Eden's calendar and have a chat with her about which program might be right for you. Amazing. Well, we hope that you gained a lot from this free call today. We really enjoy what we have the opportunity to do on Thursdays and every other time of the week. We have an opportunity for you to come on to LinkedIn for me in my what I call 1-minute office hours. So I'm just going to pop in my LinkedIn information here really quickly. And if you want to connect through those office hours or any other questions that we can answer in 1 minute on LinkedIn, then we're thrilled to do that. Otherwise, email is open. Eden's calendar, I'm sure, is probably getting booked up from those of you that want to chat with her. But I just want to thank you all for making us the best place for consulting insights on the planet. We're excited to help you. And if you decide to join us for one of our paid programs, we'll just have the opportunity to give you even that much more special attention. So thanks again for joining today. Appreciate you. Thanks, MC team, for coming. And we look forward to supporting y'all on your journey into consulting.
Thanks for tuning in. Get your resume and cover letter ready for bridge programs by working with our expert resume editing team. Led by an ex-McKinsey consultant, we work with over 300 clients a year to help them get set to land consulting interviews, and we'd love to help you as well. The package costs $500, and there's a link in the show notes where you can learn more and check out and get your resume and cover letter in for edits. Look forward to working with you. All right, we'll catch you on another episode of Strategy Simplified next week.